everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California. A couple of us make our triumphant return today. We are so glad you decided to make us a part of your day.
We also have joining us today our AMC Movie News Editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hello, guys. Hope you had a good weekend. And yes, it feels nice to be reunited with the Johns.
And finally back from London, the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened, Mr. John Schnepp?
Hey, it's great to be back. I'm wearing my London Tube T-shirt.
Yeah.
I think I walked about 45 miles when I was in London, England. It was great, and I got to interview Tim Burton, so very excited, great trip. Really happy to be back. I was keeping abreast, like watching all the things these guys were doing, so I was like, I missed the AMC crowd. Thanks for doing all those weird movie combos with my name in the comments section. Rise of the Planet of the Schnepps was maybe one of my favorites. Some of you guys got really creative, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys, while promoting Captain America the Winter Soldier, actor Samuel L. Jackson was asked if he would have any involvement in the upcoming Incredibles 2, which Disney recently announced. Jackson said the following: "Every time I run into Brad Bird, he always tells me Frozone is going to be a part of whatever's going on. So I have to believe that. I guess they would be the Incredibles without Frozone, but I think Frozone would be a wonderful, wonderful addition to what's already there. I'm just looking forward to seeing what Jack turned into." John, would you like to see Frozone return for the Incredibles 2?
Yeah, Frozone wasn't just funny in and of himself, but he was a great counterbalance to everything else going on in the story, right? Because really what Frozone was Mr. Incredible's connection to his superhero past. Mm-hmm. You know, as he's going through all his adventures, he's in his now with his family and all that kind of stuff, dealing with the situations now. But his ongoing, you know, connection to his glory days was Frozone. And then whenever Frozone came in, he added shots of levity and really, like, one of the most memorable scenes in the original Incredibles is when he's like, "Woman, where is my super suit?" You know, that is like one of the best, most memorable lines in that as well. And his powers are great, clearly an Iceman kind of stuff, but I thought he was really great in it, and I'm really excited. Number one, I'm already super pumped. We've been talking about them needing to do an Incredibles 2 for, like, ever since we started this show. Yeah. But the fact that knowing that Brad Bird wants to bring Frozone back, extra cherry on top, I'm very happy to hear that. Amy Rose?
Yeah, we've literally been talking about this for like 2 years. It's outrageous. And now it's happening. I'm just like, wow, it feels so surreal. But yeah, I mean, he was kind of like the comedic relief. I mean, there were a lot of elements that just were super charming and great together. But I really love when there's consistency. I love when they bring back characters with the same voices. Yeah. It actually makes us feel like we are revisiting this family that we love so much. So I'm really excited about that. And I think it's pretty adorable that he said, "I can't wait to see what Jack turned into."
Well, yeah, I mean, but at the end of the first Incredibles, right? That when Jack starts manifesting, it's like a little Matrix. Oh, he's the one.
Yeah.
You know, and we want to see where that goes.
But to hear Samuel L. have this little soft spot for Jack, it seems a little out of character, and I love it so much. And I'll see you tonight on the big screen again, Mr. Fury. Yes.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, they made a mini Jack story when the Blu-ray came, the DVD came out of the Incredibles. They had the babysitter having to deal with Jack's weird morphing powers, and Sam Jackson's kind of almost letting us know how many years is the Incredibles 2 going to take place? Is he saying, what did Jack become? Is this going to be 10 or 15 years later?
Right.
Like, we don't know what the story is, and I got to say, I'm so excited the Incredibles 2. I was in London when I saw that news, and I literally jumped out of my bed. I was like, yes! Thank you! You know, finally! I thought I was going to be going to my grave without the Incredibles, the Fantastic Four 11, no Incredibles 2, Jeff. You know?
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, can I please get an Incredibles 2 so we all win? So
you know what's funny / sad?
Aww.
Is at the same time that Alan Horn, the chairman of Disney, came out and made this announcement that they're finally doing Incredibles 2. In the same breath, he announced Cars 3. Wah, wah.
Yeah,
right.
Do you hear anybody talking about it? Does anybody care?
Well, Cars 2 wasn't nearly as good as the first. I loved Cars 1, but Cars 2 was okay.
See, and I liked Cars 1. To me, it was the weakest of the Pixar films of that era, at that time. And then Cars 2 was a step down.
Yeah.
And then they announced Cars 3 with Incredibles 2, and all anybody talks about is
Yeah.
Incredibles 2.
Well, if Cars 2 is the thing that has to sell the toys to make more Incredibles, and I say make Cars 9, 10, 11, just keep, Planes 15, if you need to, just to be able to make
because a
full
new
movies.
Planes movie is coming.
Yeah.
Planes Fire and
11's
Rescue.
your magic number
11,
today,
yeah,
huh?
Planes 11.
I like it.
I'm going to see, I'll wait till Planes 11 comes out to see the other 10.
Okay,
So.
let's do it.
All right, what's next?
After much speculation, it looks like a sequel to the 2012 hit film Magic Mike is on the way, and it will be titled Magic Mike XXL. According to reports, longtime assistant director to Steven Soderbergh, Greg Jacobs, will direct the new film. There were some suggestions that Channing Tatum would direct the sequel, but those rumors faded away some time ago. Amy Rose, what do you think about Greg Jacobs directing Magic Mike XXL?
Well, I like that picture a lot. Like that a lot. I think it's interesting. I mean, with this film, we obviously know Channing Tatum. This is how he started. Like, this
Right.
is how he's found. And, I think he's really likable, whether you think he's an amazing actor or not, whatever. He's got charisma. And, true to the Steven Soderbergh way, he made it dark and twisted and have all these other elements to it. So it was an actually layered story. It wasn't just these really hot men, which no complaints here, dancing around. And I think this is actually very interesting. I mean, does it have the same pull? Obviously not, because Steven Soderbergh brings a really unique audience to it, and he keeps saying he's retiring, and we don't really believe it. But, I mean, look at Wally Pfister. He was the cinematographer of Christopher Nolan forever, and I'm really excited for Transcendence. And to work with a master of the art like Nolan, who's such a visionary, and same with Soderbergh. I mean, he's such a unique storyteller, and to kind of apprentice under him, you'll probably have a little bit of that style as well as your own vision. So I think it's interesting, and it's time to give other filmmakers a shot like that. And the material, I mean, again, it's kind of a good one to start with. So yeah, why not?
Well, speaking of DPs, you also have the Jean de Bont, who started as a DP, and then, things kind of fizzled out when he became a director. It's like, you never can tell until somebody actually, they're really good in one craft, they jump into another, that's an entire different job, and with a whole bunch of different sets of responsibilities. So you always have to be like, all right, let's check out the first and second and third film of a director or, a writer, and let them watch their powers develop, so to speak. Magic Mike 2, Triple XL or Double XL or whatever.
Double XL.
I guess I'll have to see the first one. I saw Showgirls. But I still,
Same thing. I mean,
it's kind of the same thing. Right?
Yeah, totally same thing.
It's kind of my guilty pleasure. I'm not gonna lie. I like that movie.
And
don't judge me.
I said that with a completely straight face. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen Showgirls multiple times, and it's awesome.
It's awesome.
I don't know what happened to Paul Verhoeven. That's my big question. But yeah, Magic Mike 2.
Showgirls
awesome.
happened to Paul Verhoeven.
Damn.
Oh, look, the nice thing here's the thing about Magic Mike. It surprised me a little bit because even though I should have known this going into it because it's a Soderbergh movie, it was not the movie I was expecting. It did have more layers to it and more depth. It wasn't just a comedy about these guys, male strippers. There was more to it. But I got to admit, one of the reasons that I didn't refuse to see it was because I realized the guy in the back of that picture, you can barely see, he's not in the movie a ton, but it's big, sexy Kevin Nash. And I used to watch wrestling back in the Attitude Era and stuff like that. And when I found out the big, sexy Kevin Nash, who at some point he was known as Diesel when he was a wrestler, that he was going to be in it, and he was going to be one of the dancers and one of the strippers. And then I watch it, and I knew Kevin Nash has got a lot of back problems and knee problems because of what he's done for a living for like the last 30 years, right? So he has a hard time moving. And it was so funny to me watching Magic Mike, and you see Alex Pettyfer and Channing Tatum and Joe Manganiello doing all this dancing, whatever, and as they're doing that, get a wide shot on me here, guys. As they're doing that, you got big, sexy Kevin Nash. Like, they're doing all this dancing, and Kevin Nash is...
He goes by Tarzan in the movie, right?
Yes, that's right. He goes by Tarzan in the movie, but the only movement he could really do is...
I like it.
Which killed me, but you're right. It's nice, if it's not going to be Soderbergh coming back, why not get the guy who's basically, quote-unquote, apprenticed under Soderbergh and worked with him, knows the material, knows the film already, knows the style the director came before him. I think this is a good match. I think this is a good thing for Magic Mike. All right, folks, now that the dancing is done, we've come to that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Crystal Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then Amy Rose, Schnepp, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Crystal Lee, what do we got?
In a recent interview with the New York Times, Warner Brothers Pictures' Kevin Tsujihara revealed that the upcoming Harry Potter universe films, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, are actually being designed as a mega trilogy and confirmed the films will take place about 70 years before the events of the Harry Potter series. Schnepp, buy or sell WB developing 3 films for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Mega movies! I love that coin. The mega trilogy has now been coined. I've never heard that before. A mega trilogy. Tsujihara, make it so. Make it happen. I'm going to watch all the giant beasts and 70 years of Harry Potter awesomeness. It sounds great, and why not? It's a built franchise already. They know that they've got, like, I think a couple of Disneylands, like making the, you know, all the, or is it Universal? I can't remember. Like making the Harry Potter places that you can actually go to. So it makes total sense to like get the scripts all in order and just start shoot them back to back, make them, maybe make 6, I don't know, mega movies. But I'm looking forward to your announcement about the mega superhero DC universe. So that'll be coming soon.
Yeah.
But this is a great announcement, so I'm all for it. Buy it. Buy it.
Color me unsurprised. I mean, bye. This is like the most successful grossing franchise for WB, so I'm not shocked at all about this. I figured this was happening. But yeah, I mean, I like, we've talked about this a lot with remakes and this and that, and I like how it's a prequel of sorts, and I do love magic and wizardry and all of that, so I think it will be cool. I mean, it will be a little different not having Hermione and Harry and all of them in it, but I do think it's interesting, and it's same author, same material, same production team, so I do think that all the elements are in place, and it should be interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense too that they're thinking long term. They're not just thinking, let's just make this one. Look, it has anything to do, even though it happened 70 years before the events of Harry Potter, it's somehow tied to Harry Potter. They know it's going to make money, and they've got the foresight to go, let's line up 3. Let's just put all of our ducks in a row now and do this. Good foresight. I wish they showed that kind of confidence in their superhero properties, but at least they're starting to do it now.
Well, Hogwarts was around for how many years? So there's still
centuries, probably.
Yeah, so, you know, there's still going to be kids, you know, training. There's still going to be probably Quidditch. I guess, you know, there's all those things.
We'll probably see who's the big grand wizard.
Dumbledore.
We'll probably see Dumbledore.
A younger Dumbledore.
Much younger Dumbledore, yes. Played by Pauly Shore. All right, what's next?
According to reports, Game of Thrones and X-Men Days of Future Past star Peter Dinklage has joined the upcoming Adam Sandler, Kevin James film Pixels. Pixels is based on the short film of the same name, where classic 80s video game characters burst into the real world and begin a rampage of destruction. The film is being put together by Sandler's production company, Happy Madison. John, buy or sell the sounds of Pixels?
I'm going to hesitantly buy it for now. I mean, it sounds a little bit like, let's piggyback on the success of
Lego.
Wreck-It
Or
Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Let's piggyback on the success of that. But, you know, I watched the short, and the short is cute when you're watching, but it is just a 2-minute concept. I think it's like a 2.5 minute long short film. Interesting concept. The idea of these classic 80s characters coming to life, but not in a very nice way, is interesting. But the thing that pushes me over the edge from sell into the buy territory is the addition of Peter Dinklage. Right now, I'm just in a going to buy anything Peter Dinklage is in kind of zone.
Sure.
So until he proves me otherwise, I'm just going to go with that. So for me, it's a buy.
Yeah, very similar sentiment here. I'm going to buy it because of the Dinklage. I love him. He has been in this industry a long time, but Game of Thrones has immortalized him as just this amazing character actor, and he's so charming. And honestly, if you read that to me with the synopsis and Adam Sandler, I would sell it pretty quickly. He has a lot more to prove. He's still a really good actor, good producer, whatever, but he's had some flops, and I'm not that interested in the projects coming out. So add the Dinklage, good move for me.
Yep, buying it because of the Dinklage.
Yeah, this is that simple.
Yeah, it's like go see. Definitely see The Station Agent. That was 2003.
Amazing.
That's the first movie I ever saw Peter Dinklage in. I think it's on Netflix right now. It's completely worth watching. Anything Dinklage is in, he just makes it shine it up. It's there. I want to see Pac-Man eat the Empire State Building. I want to see Q*bert destroy the train stations.
Well, in the short, Pac-Man's like eating subway stations as he goes.
So I mean, that kind of is like an automatic buy for me.
And the aliens from Invaders are flying over the city, dropping bombs.
Fantastic. So I'd watch 4 hours of that, just with no actors, just
can't wait to
pure
see him as
destruction.
Trask.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
So excited.
All right, folks, listen, we have come to a part of the show now where we are about to give you the round 3 results of our March Movie Madness tournament. Now, as you guys know, we've been running this March Movie Madness tournament for a couple weeks now, trying to get down to the best comic book movie of all time. We started out with 32, and then we were down to 8. And now it is time for us to announce the results of round 3, leading us into the matchups for round 4, where you guys will once again vote. So here are your results from round 3 of the March Movie Madness tournament, starting in the Nolan bracket. And the first matchup we had were 2 Batman films going at it. The number 1 seed, Batman The Dark Knight, versus the number 5 seed, Batman Begins. Dark Knight takes it handily, one of the great examples that a sequel really can be even better than a good original. Yeah. It wins 12,142 votes to 3,371 votes. And the second semifinal in the Nolan bracket, we had the Dark Knight Rises versus Man of Steel, the number 11 seed versus number 7. Man of Steel wins in a close one, 8,479 votes to 7,034 votes. The Dark Knight Rises becomes the first of the Batman Nolan trilogy to bow out. Man of Steel advances to the Nolan finals. Into the Whedon bracket. The first matchup in the Whedon bracket was the number 1 seed, The Avengers, handily beating Thor, The Dark World, the number 12 seed, which I was still really surprised made it this far. It won 12,768 votes to 2,745 votes. And the second semifinal match in the Whedon bracket, we had the original Iron Man film versus X-Men 2, fairly close, 9,256 votes to 6,257 votes. Iron Man moves on into the Whedon final. So this is what our brackets look like now, folks. We've come down to this. In the Nolan bracket, the final matchup in the Nolan bracket will be the number 1 seed, The Dark Knight, versus number 7, Man of Steel. That's our final there. And then our final matchup in the Whedon bracket is going to be the number 1 seed, The Avengers, versus the number 3 seed, Iron Man. So your final 4 in our grand March Movie Madness tournament are The Dark Knight, Man of Steel, Avengers, and Iron Man. That is your final 4. Does anybody not expect it, I mean, ever since the beginning, to eventually come down to Avengers versus
Dark Knight?
Dark Knight?
Yeah.
My only surprise was seeing that The Dark Knight Rises was as close to Man of Steel. It was only 1,000 away. That to me was kind of a shock. But yeah, no.
Did you think Dark Knight Rises would have been higher or lower? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it'd be lower to Man of Steel. I still, we've talked about this a lot. I still enjoyed it more than both of you, but it was the weakest of the trilogy, and Man of Steel we all loved. So yeah, but no, I knew these would be the ones.
But when The Dark Knight Rises, though, beat the original X-Men, that changed it. I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought we could, the way the bracket was set up, we could end up seeing a Dark Knight versus Dark Knight Rises in the final of the Nolan bracket. Especially when it beat X-Men. Because when it beat X-Men, like, X-Men is so good, but it went on, but it loses to Man of Steel. So I actually thought it might beat Man of Steel. I really did. So once again, our final 4, The Dark Knight versus Man of Steel, and Avengers versus Iron Man. Right now, when you look down in the description of this video, you will find a link where you go and vote for the round 4 matchup. So you will vote on who wins between The Dark Knight and Man of Steel, and who wins between the Avengers and Iron Man, setting up our absolute final. We will announce the results of round 4 on Friday's show, and we will keep you guys in the loop about that. So make sure you check, once again, for the link in the description. Go and vote for round 4 of the March Movie Madness tournament as we get close to the end of it. All right, folks, before we get to Mailbag, I'm going to let you know that after we're done a couple Mailbag questions, we're going to take a couple of live questions from you guys on Twitter. So if you've got a Twitter account, you can tweet to us at AMC Movie News, and when we're done, we'll save a couple of minutes to take some of your questions from there live. But before we get to the Mailbag, as many of you know, the new Captain America film, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, is opening in AMC theaters everywhere this week. I've seen it. Amy Rose has seen it. This is a damn good movie. And anyway, recently I had a chance to sit down and talk with the cast of the film, and I want to share a little bit with you my conversation with Chris Evans. Take a look. Congratulations on the film.
Thanks,
dude. Remarkable, better than I had hoped it would be. One of the really cool things you guys do in this film, it's really easy when a superhero has an issue, they touch on it once and they pretend it doesn't exist anymore. With Steve Rogers, this whole thing about his morality, his being out of place in time, these are issues you guys chose to carry through in this film. Talk about the decision to do that and how you wanted to portray it.
Sure. Well, that's one of the things we really got to explore in this one better than the other films, In the beginning of the first movie, he's obviously a good man and he just wants to fight for his country, but it's physical limitations that are preventing him from getting what he wants. And then in the Avengers, you obviously have this radical change in time and place, and it's it's not your story. I mean, there's a lot of new characters introduced. In this movie, we really got to kind of explore his acclimation to the not just the modern world in terms of technology and how you know, all the advancements that have happened while he's been asleep, but just how business is run and the company you're working for, in order to provide the security that you promise, you may need to infringe upon people's civil liberties based on technology, you know, and it's that gray area of how far can you bend the rules in order to provide safety.
Now, I'm going to see if you can explain something in my own head, and that sounds weird.
Okay.
But one of the things I loved about this film was the humanity of it. I mean, from the relationships to the individual characters. And when I came out, the first thought through my head, and I can't explain it, but was this. This Captain America movie is not a movie about a superhero. It felt more like a movie about a hero.
Sure.
And the humanity of him. Like, so how would you explain me saying that at all?
That's great. Well, I think all superhero movies, you know, whenever people talk about superhero movies in comparison to other films in general, I don't see much difference other than the fact that they're known properties that we associate with superpowers. Every story worth watching is really just a hero, you know what I mean? Whether it's Captain America or whether it's, you know, Catcher in the Rye, it's still a hero. It's a hero.
All right, don't forget, you can head on over to www.amctheaters.com to get all your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information for Captain America the Winter Soldier. And don't forget, on April 3rd, there's actually a double feature playing at AMC Theaters. Be the first one to see the new film. You'll get 2 movies. You'll get Captain America the First Avenger and Captain America the Winter Soldier. Once again, head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. All right, folks, we've come to that part of the show called Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we take a couple of questions out of the mailbag. Chris Lee's got a few of them pulled out. So Chris Lee, what do we have?
Jerome G. Orlando writes, "Hey guys, love the show. So last year I watched The Hangover Part 3 when it came out and didn't think much of it and thought it was a very below average movie. But I recently caught it on HBO and absolutely loved it, and it might be the best of the trilogy for me. So my question is, what are some movies that on first viewing you didn't care for or didn't like at all and then grew to love after multiple watches? Thanks guys, and bring on the filthy."
You might be alone with Hangover 3. Although I will say, I liked Hangover 3. To me, part of the reason was because I thought it was just so much better than Hangover 2. Hangover 2 was such a dud. And I don't personally think Hangover 3, you know, holds a candle to the first Hangover, but that's why all film is subjective, and that's the great thing about it. But for me, the most notorious film that falls into this category that, you know, you didn't really care for it the first time and then you grew to really love it, to me, I've told the story before, is Inglourious Basterds. The first time I saw Inglourious Basterds, not only did I not really like it, I hated it.
That is crazy.
I came out of that theater and I wrote on my blog at the time, this movie sucks.
Wow.
It's awful. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. I, once again, did not just dislike the film, I hated it. Then about 6 months later, I can't remember, I don't think I was with Ann yet, so I was on a date or something, and we decided one night to stay and watch a movie, and they wanted to watch Inglourious Basterds. I'm like, all right, whatever, because, you know, everybody talks about it, so I might as well watch it. And watch it, I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me?
That's the
This
question,
movie's
John.
great. And I watched it for the second time, and all of a sudden I thought it was awesome, and I loved it. Look, a lot of things can influence how you feel about a movie. The day that you're having, the audience you're with, the person you saw it with. Maybe you weren't feeling so good or whatever. Right. Lots of different things, because watching a movie really is an emotional experience, whatever kind of movie it is. And so your emotional status when you watch a movie could have something to do with how you receive it, you know? And maybe I was just having a crappy day the first time I saw Inglourious Basterds, because now it's like maybe my favorite Tarantino film. Well, no, Django is my favorite Tarantino film, but I think it's probably my second favorite Tarantino film now. And I hated it at first, so that's the big story for me. Do either one of you guys have a story of a movie you used to hate and then all of a sudden you loved it?
Well, it's really hard for me because, like, I can only think about, like, when I saw movies when I was younger and then revisiting them now as an older adult. Like, when I first saw Godfather, I didn't understand it. So I can't say I hated it. I just didn't get it. Like, I was, why is everybody so into this movie? They're just all hanging around. There's some, you know, there's a horse head in the bed. And then years later, seeing it with Godfather 2, instantly loved it and had seen it multiple times ever since. So, I mean, I think that also is a thing, is like younger kids who are like 11, 12 might see a film and then when they're in college see it again. Or, you know, I'll always use the example that you like to say, Blade Runner. Some people hate it, some people love it. It just depends on how, what you're thinking about when you're seeing it, I think, or like what your expectations are from a film. So
you should love it. It's a good movie.
I don't. Most people do, though. Smarter people do.
I feel the same way, though, about like going into a movie with something, how whatever you're feeling that day. There's something about Mary was that film for me. I saw it last, like dead last, like expectations were out. Everyone's like, it's the best comedy ever. And so I went in with sky high expectations that could never be met. I watched it, I was like, yeah, it's funny. And then I watched it again with managed expectations. I was like, okay, that was pretty well done. Right. So it's, again, expectations. I always try to go into a film not reading about it, not hearing other people's opinions, because I think that's really important to just go in there very even-keeled. So yeah, that one. But Hangover 3, I don't feel the same way about that.
It can also, it rocks the other way too. Like I went in to see The Counselor, like, man, I can't believe this amazing cast, director, writer. I'm sure this movie's going to be fantastic. And then literally wanted to walk out of the theater.
You were angry.
40 minutes in, and then felt that way for the rest of the film. And I don't know if in 10 years from now, like The Counselor will be like the amazing, classic, underrated film, The Counselor. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen.
All right, what's next?
Dalvin writes, hey guys, do you think Kill Bill 3 will ever get made?
Nah, I don't think so. I think Tarantino's kind of shown lately and expressed in a few interviews he's not really thinking sequels even about most of his films, let alone going back to other ones. And Kill Bill, spoiler alert, they killed Bill. Yeah. I mean, where else do you go in a series called Kill Bill once you have killed Bill?
Re-kill Bill.
Re-kill Bill. Zombie Bill.
Zombie Bill. I am in for Zombie Bill.
Yeah, Zombie Bill actually. Zombie Bill sounds. I'd see it.
Sounds sweet.
If someone made a movie called Zombie Bill, I would see it.
And I loved Kill Bill 2. I actually thought both of those films were amazing, and Tarantino is still one of my faves ever. But yeah, I mean, now that his script was leaked for his last film, it'll be interesting to see where it goes from there. But no, I don't.
He was gonna. The third one was gonna take the Uma's daughter, the bride's daughter.
There was some talk about that, but I think all that got put to bed, and I don't think it's gonna. I mean, you never say never. Right. You never know what's gonna happen. But as far as I know, there's no plans for them to move forward.
Especially with Tarantino, he's a little unpredictable.
Especially with Tarantino.
Love you for it.
All right, folks, we got just a couple of minutes left here, so we're going to take some of your questions live from the Twitter stream. Once again, if you want to get a question to us right now, take your chances, roll the dice, tweet to us at AMC Movie News. Chris Lee is the gatekeeper. She's got the Twitter stream open. So, Chris Lee, what do we have?
I've seen lots of people asking this question. So, Lowell Reynolds wants to know, why do you think Disney is being so secretive about Star Wars Episode 7? No casting yet?
Yeah, well, look, I've said this for a long time, and I believe this. I believe the cast has been set for a very long time. I believe they've had all these rumors about this coming out. Now, now they're looking so-and-so. Now they're bull. I think they've had their cast, they've had it set, and they've had their cast being prepped for months now. I think it's been done for months. I really thought when Alan Horn came out on stage at CinemaCon this week, I really thought he was going to give us something.
Something.
Anything. And he gave us nothing. And I put on my Facebook post, I said, I want to punch Alan Horn in the face. I said, we're all here, all the theater owners, all here. Give us something. And he gave us nothing. I said, Alan, you are awesome, and I love you, but a face punch is coming. He gave us absolutely nothing. Look, obviously, they have something in mind. Some big event. Now, whether it's going to be at D23, it ain't going to be at... maybe it'll be WonderCon. It ain't going to be at Comic-Con. A lot of people think they're going to save it for Comic-Con. They're going to be 2 months into filming. Right. They ain't going to be able to keep it under wraps once they start filming. So obviously they must have something planned. That's some big grand event where they're going to unveil everything. And they think it's important to do that, I guess. I just wish they would hurry up.
I think it's absolutely brilliant because look at us, we're freaking out about it. Like for the first couple months, like when the release date and everything was shifting and we heard rumors like every week, like it's this. And then, after Adam Driver, it has been a little more quiet. And I do think that he, it was very close to locking. Nothing has been set. But I mean, this is the bread and butter property. Like, I don't think there's anything I'm more excited about. And I think it's really smart. It's frustrating as all hell because I really want something. Yeah. But I have trust in this production. Kathleen Kennedy, JJ. I mean, I think they know what they're doing. So
Yeah. When is Star Wars Celebration? Isn't that coming up in the next couple of months?
Should be coming. Usually they have Celebration. I mean, back in the day, they would have Celebration on the year that the new film was coming out, but I think they
do it every year.
Yeah, and I think they do it every year.
So my guess is that's when they're going to reveal.
I don't think so.
No?
I think D23.
I hope you're
big.
right, but when is D23? That might be after they start filming.
I don't
They start
remember.
filming in literally like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I mean, they got to do something.
Yeah, practical sets have been built. You know, it's
Yeah.
like all kinds of things are going on. So
And
it's
once
like,
actors actually show up on set, you ain't gonna be able to
Yeah.
keep that under wraps.
no. Look at
not with
Avengers.
that.
With
Yeah.
people filming. It's
Yeah.
like, so yeah, it's super exciting. To me, I kind of like with everything Star Wars related, it's sleep. I'm not even thinking about it because
I'm
it's just
thinking
such
about
a
it.
long wait right now that there's so many other amazing things coming out. Spider-Man, you have X-Men Days of Future Past. You have so many things, for me at least, Godzilla. I'm so excited about all these movies coming out this summer that I've purposely pushed Star Wars 7 out of my headspace. So I don't even think about it. Unless when you guys bring it up, then I'm like, frustration begins. Must not think, Spider-Man's coming out. Yes.
We've already seen the whole movie in Spider-Man with all the trailers.
All right, let's take 2 more.
Tyler Myers wants to know, with the box office success of Noah, do you think we'll be seeing any more biblical epics in the future?
I think it's going. Well, let's see what happens with Noah. I know Dennis really liked it. I know John Schnepp really liked it. I know several people that actually really liked it. And I haven't seen it. I've been off in Vegas. You saw it too. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. And you liked it too. I haven't seen it yet myself. But let's see how it does overall. It had a great opening weekend. That opening weekend, it's not going to have huge numbers the second week because Captain America's coming out.
Ooh,
But
yeah.
let's table that question really until after Exodus comes out. You know, once Exodus comes out, then I think we're going to have a better feel for that. Because if Exodus comes out and it's really good, I mean, and you've got a great cast
Amazing
attached there.
cast.
You've got an iconic director there directing with Ridley Scott.
Right.
If that comes out and it also makes 50+ million opening weekends, yeah, you better bet that studios are going to start seeing the Hollywood heyday, and they're going to be looking for their next Ben-Hur, their next 10 Commandments, whatever. And
shoes to
why
fill.
not? Right? Yeah, huge shoes to fill. Actually, Ben-Hur is one of my all-time favorite
Yeah,
films.
it's amazing.
So if there is a trend and you see that it's working and audiences are responding to it, yeah, they're going to try making some of them. Hence, we got Wreck-It Ralph 2 coming out with Peter Dinklage. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. I thought it was a real film experience. That's what it was. You have to see it on the big screen. It's one of those things that you need to be in this audience. It's very interactive. Acting Russell Crowe, this is my favorite performance since Gladiator of his. Jennifer Connelly, all
So
of them
amazing.
were amazing. Visually, it's great. And I'm not a religious person, and I thought it was just a really well done story. And I mean, the controversial aspect of it keeps it in the news even longer. So
Yeah.
regardless of your stance of it, Aronofsky's a brilliant director, and it was a really special film.
Yeah, I came into seeing Noah with pretty low expectations. I mean, especially with all the controversy of the studio meddling with his cut,
Yeah.
and I felt like,
Right.
oh, they're cramping his vision. Movie is an experimental, amazing story. It's an epic film that you
truly
need
epic.
to see in IMAX because it's beautiful. There are so many, and it's not experimental like weird, I'm a clown, weird frame things. It's a film, you know what I'm saying? Not experimental like art school. It's like experimental, like it's going into brand new territory on a giant epic level.
Epic.
And no spoilers, just go see it. It's really a fantastic film. And you don't have to be religious or
Yeah.
atheist or anything to enjoy this film and the story that
Yeah.
it tells. It's a metaphor for modern times. So that's really what, going into seeing it, it's a beautiful, amazing
Here's an
journey.
interesting
The CGI
statistic
is
that came
great.
out. Noah, in its opening weekend, has made more money than the previous 4 Aronofsky films combined.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Let that sink in for a second.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He
Because
deserves it.
generally speaking, Aronofsky is one of these dudes who makes some great movies that nobody goes to see for one reason or another, right? And then all of a sudden he makes Noah and everybody goes to see it. So it's a very poignant question. I think studios are going to take notice of this, and we'll see how this all
He's
kind of
amazing.
unfolds. All right, let's take one more.
William Parcell wants to know, do you think we'll see more fantasy films after Hobbit 3, or will Middle-earth's shadow continue to keep them away?
It's funny, when the first Lord of the Rings, when the Lord of the Rings films came out, there was this, understandably, there was this thought that with the success of Lord of the Rings now, we're going to see a great new age of these, middle time fantasy films, castles and dragons. We're going to see a whole rebirth of this whole genre stuff, right? Return to like those 80s classics we used to love. But what happened was actually the opposite. Suddenly everybody was terrified of making a film like that and being compared to the Lord of the Rings. And actually then we saw none come out for a very long time. I've said this for a while and I still believe it. I don't think The Hobbit is going to be the measuring stick for this moving forward. I think World of Warcraft is going to be the measuring stick. World of Warcraft has a lot riding on it, and on the surface it doesn't feel that way, but when you really stop and look at the environment right now, World of Warcraft is touching on several different areas. Video game movie, sword and sandal, fantasy, all this type of stuff is rolled into one. If World of Warcraft can knock it out of the park and be a commercial success, and fans love it, and critics love it, I think you are going to see the floodgates open for not just video games, but the sword and sandal and all this kind of stuff too. Anyway, that's just the way I see it. What do you guys think?
I have high hopes for World of Warcraft. I really do. Duncan Jones, my boy Ben Foster. I mean, I just think it's going to be great, and it's such a rich game to adapt. So yeah, I love fantasy adventure type. I love it. I can't get enough of it. The rich worlds that they're able to bring. Peter Jackson's done it so well, and it has become the measuring stick. But like you said, we have another one to look forward to. And I mean, I do want to keep my expectations a little managed, but they are very high right now. So yeah, I hope they don't stop. I mean, there's so much material they could explore.
Yeah, I think I would love to see a return to some of the like Beastmaster, but like with a slightly larger budget. I'd love to see the sword and sandal and sorcery genre reignited by Warcraft. A bunch of my friends are building giant things right now for the movie. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Warcraft is going to be, you're right, that's the one that's going to be the tipping scale.
Yeah.
And I think
one way or the other.
One way or the other. I'm really hoping that Duncan Jones kills it.
He's gonna do it.
I mean, I loved Moon, and he's a great director. And you know, I mean, even the source code, you know, hits and misses, but
Still
directed really well done.
Very well directed film, though.
So I think they gave it to the right guy, and it's not going to be like, Orc needs food, chopping wood, searching for, experimenting, researching spells. You know, that's the old school Warcraft. This is going to actually be a full, you know, rich film. So I'm really excited about it. You're right. It's going to be the one that tips the scales instead of Lord of the Rings.
If you narrated it like that, I could be in.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us. We've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here on AMC Movie Talk. Don't forget, you can join us here every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. live. But don't forget also, if you haven't done so already, take a second and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel and click the thumbs up button just to let us know you like the show. Don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now, like Noah and many others. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And if you want an audio-only podcast of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find links to our Stitcher and our iTunes. And don't forget, the link is there right at the top of the description. If you don't see it, just refresh the page, where you can go and vote for the next round of the March Movie Madness, the two big matchups, The Dark Knight versus Man of Steel and Avengers versus Iron Man. Go and vote, narrow it down to our final two, and we'll announce the results on Friday. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. I want to also thank those sitting at the table with me. First of all, our AMC Movie News editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you online?
On Twitter at Amy Rosie. Thanks.
And the triumphantly returning Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Twitter, John Schnepp, and Instagram, John Schnepp. And go to schneppzone.com/SupermanLives and donate, become a finishing funder. A lot of people have been emailing me. It's like, is the film on hold? It's just, I've had to be really quiet about stuff. As these guys know, it's like, you know, until you do something and get it locked down, it's not real. So that's why I didn't say anything about the Tim Burton interview until it's locked down. Other things, I'm progressing with the film. It's not on hold. It's moving ahead. It looks like we'll be probably premiering it at Comic-Con San Diego. So as things go forward, you know, I'll let you know. But thanks again for all the support.
Our lovely host today, Miss Chris Lee Kennedy. Chris Lee, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Lee.
And you can find me on the various social media networks just at John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campea for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.